Now we're on.
Now we're on?
We're on now. This is why you can't let me press the buttons, Virginia. But at least we're back.
We're back. Hi! Hoist the colors!
Hoist the colors. Let's see those Jolly Rogers.
Raise your banners, babies.
That's not a euphemism.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Today we're talking about
pirates.
Poerates.
The Poerates of the Carolinas.
Very
I cannot
clever.
claim that I came up with that myself. Do not blame me.
Then don't look at me.
It was Micah, one of the two of them, on the 6 Degrees of Poe Unplugged that they had back in April, when they covered the same story that we're about to talk about tonight, because it recently had a birthday. And so on, June 21st in 1843.
1843, Poe published this story, and then we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
So shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
The sky, it's dark, and the wind is blowing. Come inside. Sit down with a cup of tea while we tell you a little story. A story that lies beyond the oblong box. With your hosts, Levi Leland and Virginia Poe.
It sounds... Wait.
It stopped, but the audience might hear I'm currently on board the Black Pearl, and there's some
there's
some
fighting going on
happening.
Around.
Yes. The audience might know what's the holiday coming up, the 4th of July, and everybody loves to celebrate it around me, all weekend and all week preceding and proceeding the actual holiday. So if you hear some cannon fire, just think of it as like the ASMR for the pirate theme.
Yeah.
For the pirate theme that we're kind of
talking about here,
honing in on tonight. The gold bug. Poe deals with some pirate
treasure
theme, and Virginia's got her own treasure.
I'm wearing my very own
around
treasure.
her neck.
Yes, this is my very own little gold bug. I don't know if anybody can really see it very well. Maybe you can right there. But this amazing piece was made by the lovely Bast and Badel. This is actually it's electroformed copper jewelry. They make fantastic, amazing things. And this is black agate with a piece of amethyst. And then I've got, it's kind of hard to see with the lighting, but this is titanium quartz. So I felt like I was like, oh, we're going to talk about the gold bug. So I need to.
It's perfect.
Scarab.
It's perfect. And very, very well crafted, very beautiful, very artistic. And it's nice to give them a little shout out.
Makes amazing stuff, and I've got like 5 of their necklaces.
That's awesome. Well, maybe they'll have some more customers after this airs. So let's hope.
Just a little shout out to my homies.
So the gold bug, published in the Dollar newspaper originally.
Yeah.
And as you said, we're kind of reaching that anniversary. It was 1843. We're in 2023, so
20 years.
Quite a while. Yeah, quite a while ago. And it was originally, Poe entered it, there was a contest apparently, so he entered this story. Yes. He won, which he very often did when submitting stories and poems to contests. He won $100, which was the most money he was ever paid for a single one of his works, which is quite significant. And so this story kind of became his most popular in his own lifetime. This story reached audiences across the nation. It was more popular in its outreach than the Raven, but the Raven was more popular in its in getting attention. The Raven kind of stuck with people, whereas this story just reached a lot of people. And so Poe cleverly said, "The bird beat the bug." So he cleverly he had written that in a letter to one of his colleagues, about this particular story. And so interestingly enough, too, there was a stage adaptation of this story in Poe's own lifetime, which is also a very interesting fact.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So this was the only one of Poe's works that had been adapted into a stage play.
Whoa.
In his own lifetime. Of course, now there have been like countless plays regarding countless Poe stories and poems, but this one
adaptations.
Oh yeah, I mean the theatrical type
adaptations, everything.
But I mean this story was kind of kickstarted all that in a way. It was the first, and Poe got to see that happen. So that's pretty cool. That was probably pretty validating for Poe.
Of course.
And of course, it was a very influential story. And, it deals with cryptography, which Poe popularized heavily in his own time.
He liked his puzzles.
He loved the puzzles. He would often, of course, challenge his readers to submit cryptograms and puzzle for him to solve them. But then there was this little like conspiracy theory that Poe is submitting his own puzzles and solving them, but maybe in a way to kind of get the readers to kind of like be more encouraged to submit things. But yeah, Poe is like submitting his own puzzles and then solving them. But that's Poe.
Weren't there two that didn't get solved until like the last 30 years?
I think so. I remember reading something about that.
Because I think they've covered that a couple of times.
Yeah, I remember reading something about that. There was a few that never got solved and people had been trying.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, treasure hunting.
Over at 6 Degrees of
Yeah, we love them. We love them.
Hi, guys.
So this is a great story, and so we're not going to talk too much about the plot and like how it ends, and because Virginia and I were kind of talking about this, during our pre-show, chat, and we kind of want people to be encouraged. Yeah, like we kind of want to just give a lot of hints and just talk about some of the themes, and hopefully it will encourage you guys to read the story yourselves. So we're not going to give too much away and spoil it and do all that. We kind of want to encourage people to read the story and actually like absorb Poe's writing like from the source. So
the title of the gold bug. The bug obviously is kind of a metaphor in a sense.
Right.
For the treasure that is a thing in this story.
Yes.
And it is the supposed treasure of Captain Kidd. The interesting thing is there's nothing, because if you read enough of Poe's works, you know that, especially with stuff that he's written that takes place like present day, which a lot of his stuff did. Not everything did, but a lot of his stuff did take place in present day. So it would encompass things that were like way of life in that time.
Right. Current events, even like he would include things that were happening, actively happening, throughout the world or in America, wherever. Like he was very, up with all the current events and would often include those things in his stories, which was interesting.
Giving it more of like an idea of where we are, what's happening, the shape of the world at that time. And the thing that's fascinating, and again, shout out to Carmen and Jeannie, they had a Poe Unplugged back in April, which is their event that they have every month at the end of it. The last Tuesday of every month, we have this lovely little Zoom meeting gathering. It is called Poe Unplugged. They run it. Each month is a different topic, either a poem, a story, what have you. And April's was the Gold Bug, which I was unfortunately not able to attend. And I was super bummed about that because for me, the Gold Bug was one of the first 2 stories that I read at the age of 9 that I got from my school library. The other one being The Black Cat. Avi. I mean, kind of, like
goes without
yeah,
saying.
Of course,
the cats,
cats and bugs, they just kind of go together. Yeah, my mighty hunters love getting the bugs in the house when they get inside. Yeah, sure. Clementine's done that too. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, the crickets.
So,
just gotten a few of those, which I'm actually thankful for because they're very annoying.
So they were discussing the Gold Bug in April, and that is where the title of our episode kind of came from. So either Will or Micah, I don't remember which one of you it was, but thanks for that idea.
Right. A little shout out.
Okay, a little shout out to them. But they had mentioned about how, did he use the name Captain Kidd because it was easier to do the cryptogram with? And I was like, that is interesting because historically speaking, there's a lot of myth, a lot of legend around Captain Kidd. I'm not going to delve too much into that because that's going to be something else. That's going to be another episode, but not on the main feed, as they say. However, there's nothing historically speaking that says that Captain Kidd was or was not in and around Sullivan's Island. Because historically speaking, accurately as we know, Captain Kidd did most of his dealings or his piracy up north, New York, Nova Scotia, even New Jersey. Some of the supposed buried treasure that was found, I believe that was off of Long Island, was collected by the governor of Long Island, New York at that time, sent back to England as use of proof in Captain Kidd's trial. That was the Crown versus Captain Kidd. However, there's nothing saying that he couldn't have been there.
Right.
So, because Captain Kidd, I believe it was it 1701 that he passed away? I believe. Passed away. Huh, man was hung. So
passed away.
Yeah. I was trying to be nice
by the
about
hangman's
it.
noose. Passed away quietly.
Hey, at least they didn't make him walk the plank.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, I think I'd probably rather be hung. Just get it over with. I don't want to be like torn apart by sharks or or drowned.
Yeah.
I'd rather just get it over with.
I don't know.
Plus, I like the idea of like the audience and everything. Like it's a show. It's like my last show.
Terrible. Oh my gosh. Anyway, back to pirates. Back to Captain Kidd. So there's nothing that states, and I've read up a little bit more about this. I do and can give that there is some, if I'm remembering correctly, if I'm incorrect, please, of course, message me. Be kind. My brain isn't working right now. If I remember correctly from reading, pirates more like Blackbeard were down in that area. Not necessarily Captain Kidd. But I don't know. The whole Captain Kidd thing, I think, kind of,
it works of for the story, as you said, in the cryptogram.
Sure.
I think Poe kind of took that artistic license and kind of made it what it was based on what would work for the story, and not so much what was like totally historically accurate. But like you said, there was nothing saying that Captain Kidd wasn't that way. So
we do know that he was down in the
you know,
Caribbean.
right. So
I mean,
we could very
historically
easily
speaking, he
put him
was,
there.
for a brief period, was in the Caribbean. Does that
Mhm.
mean he wasn't or didn't make a pit stop in the Carolinas?
Right.
Who's to say? We don't know.
Right.
Because again, there's no record, so we're not 100% certain.
Mhm.
However, there is this supposed treasure that, of course, is being searched for. The gold bug
Mhm.
does bite our main character, Mr. William Legrand. I kind of like the way that he uses the bug in this story, because especially with modern slang, if you get a bug, it means you're sick. You've got some kind of illness,
Right.
you've got
Right.
a disease. And for most people who find treasure maps, it becomes an obsession. It's all they can think about. They can't eat. They can't sleep. They are obsessed with finding this treasure.
Right.
This gold bug has bit this man. He can think of nothing else than finding this bug, number one, because he's never seen another bug like it.
Right.
And number two, finding the treasure that this map holds, which is, of course, the cryptogram.
Yes. Yes. And the bug, of course, it's part of the whole
puzzle.
Plays a role in
Huge
finding
role in
the
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, and we know Poe is stationed, of course, in Fort Moultrie.
Moultrie, yeah.
While in the army, and
in real life.
Yeah, in real life. And so he kind of combined, like, he used that as the setting, and with the Captain Kidd. So he was kind of using like historical elements that he had a little bit of play with, because as we said, he could do that. There was nothing saying Kidd wasn't in that area or wasn't. And then, of course, from his own experiences, he kind of had that setting already in his mind from when he was stationed there. I think there's a tree there in real life currently that they're like, and this is the tree that's
the gold bug tree. Yeah, they
right,
call it the gold bug tree. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and of course, there's nothing definitely saying that this inspired Poe, but the tree is I wish I had more like detailed information about it, but it's a very like ornate looking tree. I don't know what kind of tree it is, but it's
an actual tulip tree. It's not
okay.
A tulip poplar, because we have those in Virginia.
Okay.
There were 3 of them in my yard.
Oh, that's
my
cool.
parents' house.
They're very interesting, like kind of like spooky gothic looking trees. Yeah. But yeah, this one I know was similar.
And it the one that's there is a tulip tree.
Okay.
Not a tulip poplar. That's different, but it's what they call a tulip tree, and it's pretty massive.
Yeah. Yeah, they're big. Tree. They're very twisty. Lots of like branches and stuff. And there's a tree, of course, in the story that again plays a role. And so they think that this tree inspired Poe to kind of write the story. And but everyone wants to claim they have something that inspired Poe to write one of his famous stories. And of course, we just don't know for sure, but we can speculate. But yeah, this tree is pretty cool. I remember reading about it.
And it is neat. It is really neat.
Yeah, I'm glad you knew more about it. You knew like the name of the tree and everything. I just remember. I always pick like surface level details. I'm like, all right, and then that's what I remember. It's hard to remember like. Yeah. But it's really cool. This is a great story, and it was so influential too. I mean, it inspired Treasure Island, right? By what was that guy's name? Stevenson, Robert Louis Stevenson. Is that who the author was?
Oh, Levi. I think
yeah.
Need some sleep tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we're filming this kind of late, and of course, there's cannon fire happening. Yeah, Robert Louis Stevenson. Yeah, I am terrible. I am going to be hung at the end of this, I think, for my neglect of duties. But yeah, it
Send you
inspired
to
that.
Davy Jones' locker. I'm sorry, dear.
Yeah, you know what? It might be fun. It might be fun there.
It's all right. I'll be
I love
sitting right
solitude,
there
so
with you.
that's fine. Send me to the locker.
Oh boy.
And it's worth mentioning too. This story inspired a board game.
Yes.
Is that correct?
If I remember correctly, yes.
Okay. Scrabble or Monopoly? No.
Scrabble. Again,
Right? Monopoly,
I am
treasure, money. I don't know.
so
No,
good
Scrabble.
I am very good at Scrabble.
I have never played Scrabble.
You
I know.
haven't?
Nope.
Oh, I'm fixing that.
I know. I get that a lot. That was not one of the family game
Oh my gosh.
night games that were in our arsenal.
That was something I always played with my great grandmother.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Like,
That's a sweet memory. It is kind of like an
I think I was
older
18
person
the last time
game.
we
So
played it.
mhm. It's
She loved Scrabble, and I loved Scrabble.
yeah. That's
Like,
cool.
yeah.
I do have to play it. Everyone says that, but I have
it's
not.
so much fun. It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
That's something we'll have to do. And
Yes.
of course, in honor of the gold bug, because the story was
Of course.
the influence of that game. So we will
Yeah.
play Scrabble in honor of Poe and the gold bug. It was we definitely encourage people to read the story because it's one of those different, like it's categorized as like it's an adventure story. That's pretty much the point I was going to make. They kind of categorize it almost in Poe's like detective type works because it's like there's that ratiocination, that word that he made up in it, but like it's an adventure story at its core. You know,
it's not a mystery,
right?
To the sense of it being a detective story,
right?
To me, it's definitely like the adventure story.
Yeah,
there's treasure. We've got to find it. We're gonna be the ones to find it,
and I guess maybe because
find it.
Yeah, you'll have to find out. They might find something else that shocks them.
Well, I will say this. Supposedly, in that treasure within the story, it was supposed to be $450,000. Do you know how much money that would be in today's standards?
I want to say it's going to be close to 16 million.
Ding ding! Yes, seriously, it's like
16 million.
Under 16 million in today's money. I'm going.
Yeah.
I would just be glad with 450.
I'll take
that.
I'll take $20 right now if anyone wants to give it to me. Anybody. You can mail it to yeah, no, I mean that's a lot of money. That would definitely motivate me to go on a treasure hunt. For sure.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
And especially in that time, I mean, $450,000. I mean, that was
very much change your life.
Money. That was still a lot of money.
Change your life.
Yep.
And they must categorize the story in that, because Poe didn't write a lot of like adventure tales. It was like
because his money really was made in the horror.
Right. The horror was what sold. You know, the detective stories were very limited. You know, he wrote a lot of comedies, which were odd. They were just, you know, some of them are kind of funny today, I guess, if you kind of read it in the context of it being funny. So just try to make it funny as you read, but it's not really that funny. And so, you know, he wrote some science fiction type stories that were kind of like adventure-y, but they were science fiction, very clearly. So this story kind of falls in this weird category where it's like, yeah, it was kind of an adventure story, but one of like the only adventure stories he wrote. So people don't really want to just place it randomly and, you know, in that category, and rather categorize it with like the detective type story. But
or this category.
Yeah, category. So definitely read it if you haven't, people, and tell
Yes.
us what you think.
Yeah. And we're not going to tell you how to decipher the code.
Yes,
But I
that's
think, but I
another
believe,
fun element.
he kind of takes, and that's the thing I think is really interesting about the story too, is he kind of, as the story is being told, he kind of like does a step by step of how to solve.
Right. It kind of set the
Yeah.
tone for what Poe would be doing after
This.
after the story. Like, hey, here's a cryptogram. Here's how to solve
Here's
it.
an example of how you
Like,
solve it.
yeah, and
Send
then
me
he goes
some.
off and- yeah, very cool. And that's what makes Poe brilliant. I mean, he was always kind of setting himself up for further pursuits in writing and publishing, and I mean, he was just trying to tackle like every side of literature, and he did in such a way. And that's what makes him still so relevant, is that you can today pick out any style of writing or genre or whatever, and somehow you can trace it back to Poe in a way.
Sure.
And
Yep.
so, everybody can relate to him in that context. And
Yeah.
this story is a good example of that. It has a lot of cool elements that we still love today. We love to read this type of story, and we like to see this type of story, adapted into films, and just it kind of touches all those, elements. And it's probably one of my favorites, I would say. Um, it's definitely a cool story.
Yeah, it's in the context of knowing how much horror he wrote, and then
Right. It's like a little
consequently how
palate
much.
cleanser
Yeah. It's like
in a way.
it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh, what is this? This is
Yeah.
fun.
Oh,
This is fun.
yeah. Right.
You
Right.
know?
With still some kind of gory type of
Stuff,
but not in like
but
not
it's
in like
not
a telltale heart kind of gory, or
yeah,
like
no,
it's more of just like, oh, cool, like
yeah.
pirates and treasure and skeletons, and
Oh
just
my.
yeah, right. So stuff like that, cool stuff.
Yeah.
And so we're glad to bring everybody another episode tonight, and hopefully we'll be back with
So
more.
happy birthday, Gold Bug.
Happy birthday, Gold Bug.
Yo ho, yo ho.
I was gonna try to do the math in my head, because I didn't do it prior, about how old the story was.
Well,
It
in
was
another
published in 1843.
years,
1943 is 100 years.
Old.
So it's 180
80,
years old.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can do that math pretty quick. What's 200 minus 20? It's 180.
Here at
Thank
Beyond
God.
the Oblong Box, we are not friends with math.
I hate
Just letting you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
Or
expect
technology,
any math.
Apparently.
Yeah.
We try, folks.
And many other things.
Ah, wow.
So it was nice to chat with you tonight, Virginia.
Are the waters calm on your side?
It's starting to. It's starting to, finally. So I should get back.
Maybe someone has won the fight.
Yeah. I should probably get back to the upper deck and see. Hopefully it's us.
Yeah.
Or else.
Well, our main producer, Mr. Lucian Orion, says that it's time to go, because it's time for their dinner.
If he says it is, then it must be true. And my clock's going to chime again in 2 minutes, so.
So we better beat it to the punch.
We better beat it to the punch. So, all right, people.
Thank you, Levi.
Thank you so much, Virginia. Thank you to our listeners, and we will hopefully catch you again real soon.
Yes. Bye.
You've been listening to Beyond the Oblong Box with your hosts, Levi Leland and Virginia Poe. This program is produced by EG&L Brothers Limited with production assistance by Peter D. Come Rest in This Bosom, arranged and performed by the Ninth Heaven. You can find us online on Facebook at BTOB Podcast, on Instagram at Beyond the Oblong Box, or reach us by email btob1847@gmail.com. If you'd like to help our show grow, consider becoming a patron by visiting patreon.com/Beyond the Oblong Box Podcast. You can also subscribe, rate, or review the show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of your preferred podcast platforms.